Do you ever wonder why puzzles are so interesting, or why they tend to be so alluring and addicting? Well, there's actually a reason for that, and it's a reason that is inherent in everyone. According to psychology, don't ask me which one, humans are inherently interested in solving problems. For us, the idea of overcoming a challenge through effort and/or cunning is very appealing, and it's something we chase after on a regular basis. Enter the world of puzzles. Now, there are a lot of types of puzzles that range from logical puzzles such as jigsaws that require you to match pieces together, all the way to mathematical and deductive puzzles that require you to activate big brain time and make you question the why rather than the how. Regardless of what puzzle you may be doing, one thing is for certain: you want to finish it, you want to solve it, and you want to overcome whatever problem is put in front of you. For the most part, this is where most of the enjoyment of puzzles come from. The process of going through it, the journey if you will, to get to the top of Mount Big Brain. But another possibility is catharsis. If you aren't all too jazzed about the process but are still willing to go through this entire thing, you might be chasing after the ending, and that's all good. It still ends with you craving for more of that puzzle. But the cherry on top of the cake for people's love for puzzles is our natural affinity to identifying patterns and drawing meaning from these patterns. Now, I'm not gonna act like I fully understand the psychology behind it, because trust me, I don't. But think about it. Why do you think we enjoy symmetry so much? Even well-positioned shapes. Our brains are hardwired to want to look at them and unpack the meaning to why they fit so well together. Thus, puzzles, which all have some kind of pattern recognition as a prerequisite to enjoying, have a natural pull. But why the heck are we talking about puzzles? I mean, it's what to do? That's you asking yourself that question at, this time. Well, hopefully not naked. Well, because there's one thing that ticks all these things about puzzles and made me addicted to it. And it's a little game, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Catherine. No, not that Catherine, or Catherine, but Catherine. Yes, that Catherine, the Atlas puzzle game from 2011 that many gamer boys have seen. Emphasis on seen. No, I encountered a phenomenon that I couldn't quite explain while playing the game, and that entire section in the beginning was a preface for me to talk about Catherine and why it's such a good puzzle game, so let's get the show on the road! Catherine is an interesting puzzle game because not many people know it for the puzzles, if you know what I mean. But I've actually played it, and while I do think the main appeal that most people will see is the anime portion of the game, the puzzles are really addictive and really enjoyable. Like, okay, the story is excellent and it ties the nightmare theme to the puzzle mechanics really well, but I'm not here to talk about Vincent's obsession with messing around with women who have the same names. No, I'm here to talk about my experience with the actual game in this thing. Now, right off the bat, the game does something really well, which is getting into the gameplay as soon as possible, having only a really short introduction to how the story will be presented. But the tutorial?
Move the blocks to make a path.
The tutorial can go suck a dick. But after that, you pretty much have free reins on how you want to solve the puzzles set forth in front of you. And I like this very simple way of letting the player play the game, because it means I'm invested in it right away. And I feel like I'm actually in control. Which leads to my first point on why I was addicted to playing the puzzles in this game, to the point where I was equally excited about the puzzles as the story elements, aka Catharine's plots. In an age where video game tutorials have slowly become a tunnel that leads you by the hand, take me to the land that you understand, gamer boys and girls have learned to appreciate the freedom of learning how to play a game on their own. It sounds kind of boomer of me, but when you have games that constantly break your immersion to tell you what you have to do, it starts to get annoying after the first, 15 times. Now, Catherine is not completely innocent. The tutorial stage that you go through at the start of the game is absolute dog doo-doo. It stops you every few seconds to teach you a mechanic in a narrator voice that gets too old too quick, and it plays regardless of what difficulty you're on. Only positive to this is that the tutorial level is extremely short, and the only time tutorials like this pop up again are for unknown game mechanics, which is like once per chapter, so it's like nothing. After that, you're essentially left on your own to solve each puzzle like a babe in the woods, which I think is absolutely the perfect way to hand control to the player in the type of puzzle game that Catherine is. I feel like I have control over how I want to solve the puzzles because there is no definite answer to each stage, nor is there a voice in my head telling me what to do. It's a frustrating yet satisfying experience understanding how stair patterns can work both to my favor and to my demise while all on my own. The independence and control I feel always seems to push me to learn techniques faster and better to beat the game, which in turn allows me to instill a sense of urgency on myself. Speaking of urgency, Catherine uses visual identifiers as its timer. And these visual identifiers are the monsters, the sheep, the music, the background, the blocks, the patterns, the falling stage, the color of each block, the boss, the small little shake that Vincent does when he's left idle, and of course, the satisfying animation that each stage has when you finish it. Whew. All these visual timers give you anxiety on a whole nother level, and they are also the reason why each stage always feels like a race against time, even more so than if it was just a traditional timer. You always feel like each second that passes in this living, breathing puzzle is important, and hey, you better make some G-dang stairs, or else Catherine and Catherine are going to bite your face off. Among other things. Time is never on your side, yet the game is always forgiving of this, at least on normal difficulty. It doesn't baby you by giving you infinite retries, but it does allow you to experiment on ways to do the puzzle faster without directly impacting your progress on the level. And of course, the urgency that you put on yourself stimulates your desire to go even faster in these levels, overall creating a cathartic conclusion to each stage. I think you all know the next part is. As fun as playing around with patterns and stairs are, and they are very fun, believe me, there is a limit to how much frustration I, or really anyone, can take in a puzzle game. It's why it's crazy that Catherine is set up in such a way that constantly keeps you on the precipice of this line, before allowing you to earn that sweet, sweet golden bell. I talked earlier about how the game makes you put urgency on yourself to finish the stage quickly, with its multiple visual identifiers to make your anxiety flare up, but this urgency is also rewarded very generously at the end of each stage. There is something so satisfying about how each of the puzzles end after figuring out all the patterns and all the problems and actually doing it on your own that makes you chase that feeling over and over again. The slick animation of Vincent grabbing up and pulling the golden bell, all the way to the use of Handel's Messiah, makes the catharsis you feel at the end that much more powerful, and it makes you crave for it even more after every stage. You ever had an experience where a game follows you into the real world? Well, that is Catherine. No, not that Catherine, or this Catherine, though I do wish she did follow me into the real world. I'm talking about the mechanics of the game constantly stirring in your head. After spending about 13 hours playing the game the first time, to completion, and might I add, getting the True Lovers ending, I found myself constantly seeing stair patterns for a solid week. All I could think about were ways to create faster and better stairs, and it was a weird phenomenon, and I thought I'd do some research on it. And, well, this is what I found, and I thought that information was cool enough to make a video about it, because, I don't know, maybe some people are interested in it, Now, by all means, this won't be the same effect the game has on everyone, but I do recommend you play Catherine if you want a really fun, straightforward puzzle game with a really interesting story. And that is why Catherine is not an ecchi game, Mom! 9 out of 10 would play again on easy difficulty to find all these endings.